All right, I want to go to two articles, and this one's by The Direct. Savannah Saunders is the person that wrote the article today. And this is James Gunn's comments on the Snyderverse. So, of course, Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead is coming out on Netflix. Of course, we are in the Restore the Snyderverse movement. What was interesting about this article really was an interview that James Gunn had where he had to respond to a recent post about his upcoming Peacemaker series, which is a spin-off of the Suicide Squad that's going to be on HBO Max. So the person asked him at Rahul SSSJ. He claimed that the fans didn't want Peacemaker, but rather Zack Snyder's project. So what this guy is doing is he's kind of like pitting James Gunn's project against Zack's project. This is basically what he's saying by alleging that the fans don't want a Peacemaker, but they rather want Zack Snyder's projects. So Gunn, in response, said, "That's not how creativity works. No one asked for The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, or Seinfeld either. That's not how television or ideas or creativity works. Open up your mind to the possibilities of what you don't know, and your life will become more full." So the user at Rahul SSSJ, I guess this is it's a fan or someone. It's not a media person. Commented back, establishing that he's not against Gunn's work, but he alluded to the fan effort behind Restore the Snyderverse movement, expressing that Warner Brothers should make good on their promise before greenlighting Gunn's projects. Again, he's overstepping his boundaries and going in on something that's James Gunn's project. This is James Gunn's project. Of course, he's going to defend it. Gunn then replied saying, "You can't have it both ways. Warner's wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I wanted to do this. That's simple. You can't have it both ways. You either want creators to have power, or you want creators to do only what you want them to do." From here, the exchange shifted more towards Warner Brothers' track record with creators and the issue of creative control. According to Rahul SSSJ's perspective, the studio's action prevented some creators from realizing their vision, while Gunn has had a different experience. Gunn replied again, stating that the Instagram users' actions are hypocritical. And here's why he says it's hypocritical. Yes, so imagine if Zack wanted to make a Metamorpho show, and you were on here complaining about that. Like I said, you can't have it both ways. My creative choices aren't dictated by the studio, and they aren't dictated by you either. Your actions are hypocritical. And what he's basically saying, which I agree with, is that the guy is saying, well, the fans don't want this show, so that means it shouldn't happen, right? But by doing so, what are you saying? The director must give you what you want? The director, he wants to make a Peacemaker movie, okay? That's his creative decision. That's his creative choice. Now, if the studio gave him okay to do so, so be it. But what I am saying is, which is a completely different argument, that I keep on explaining to you guys, the Hamadaverse. I'm not against the Hamadaverse. Not against anything, okay? I am for the Snyderverse. And this person is alleging that we as Zack Snyder fans, we're dismissive of Gunn stuff, and we don't want that. We want the Snyderverse stuff. But you can't talk to a creator, which is James Gunn, who's the director, who wants to do a Peacemaker story, and say, well, the fans don't want your story, so it's not fair that you're getting your story and Zack Snyder's not getting his story. That makes no sense. It's being hypocritical because on one hand, you want Zack Snyder to do what he's doing, but on the other hand, you don't want this director not to do anything. That's exactly what Warner Brothers is doing. They're saying, oh, we want what James Gunn is doing, okay? We want what a Marvel director is doing because we want to go to route of Marvel, but no, we mustn't have anything with Zack. This is the exact same thing the studio is doing. So you can't come and have it both ways like that. My thing is, there's room for James Gunn's Peacemaker, and there's room for Zack Snyder's Snyderverse. Okay? One is not going to last forever. Snyderverse is not lasting forever. Okay? After Justice League 3, that's it. It's a wrap. But there's room for it. Okay? Whether or not I want to see Peacemaker or not, okay, is somewhat irrelevant in that equation. We're not arguing for people to put out whatever content they want. However, it is nice for a studio to listen to the fans and what the fans want, because that helps in bringing excitement to a movie. So yes, of course, a studio should be thinking about that. But for a creative who's pushing a project, obviously, a director who's pushing a project like Peacemaker or whatever he wants to push, obviously he's going to back and defend what he's pushing, because people should have creative freedom. Gunn then asked whether Zack Snyder's millions of fans was then asked if Zack Snyder's millions of fans are also hypocritical, to which the director responded, "Of course not," and emphasizing that fans are fighting for a director's choices. Exactly what I'm saying. So James Gunn is on the money almost every single time here. What? Of course not. The people trying to restore the Snyderverse are fighting for a director's choices. They aren't on here simultaneously complaining about a director's choices. And great point by, again, James Gunn. Totally on the money. So, the writer now goes on. While it certainly appears that Gunn has had a different experience with Warner Brothers than Zack Snyder and David Ayer, Gunn's point throughout this online exchange is that a fight for a director's choices should not be exclusive, which is obviously. While Snyder's plans for the DCU were never fully realized, that doesn't mean that Gunn should have to forsake his own. Well, obviously. But what this entire exchange shows is that DC fans are frustrated with Warner Brothers, obviously, and are struggling to support the studio's projects moving forward. That is also true. And while that's understandable, it's important to note that the creators and directors like Gunn and Matt Reeves have nothing to do with the studio's treatment of Zack Snyder. Again, somewhat true. Let me explain. With the case of Matt Reeves, who got the opportunity, he got the opportunity in light of the fact that Ben Affleck's opportunity was sabotaged. And for us as fans previewing that, we step out and we say something about it. So that's a totally different case. With James Gunn, obviously, again, he got this opportunity after David Ayer was done wrong. So there's while yes, it's true that James Gunn himself personally has nothing to do with what happened with David Ayer and the scenario, they are connected in the sense that James Gunn got this opportunity because Warner Brothers screwed over David Ayer. That's the connection that we as fans see. James Gunn obviously personally doesn't have a connection. Similarly, with Matt Reeves was brought in by Jeff Johns, and Jeff Johns screwed over, he screwed over Ben Affleck, and that's why Matt Reeves got the project. And that's why, again, this is why I feel the Snyderverse is a way of validating people. I don't like that Avner DuVernay got screwed over. I don't like that I can't remember his name now. The first writer of New Gods was screwed over. I don't like that Ray Fisher is being screwed over. I don't like that Ben Affleck was screwed over. Okay? I don't like that Zack Snyder was screwed over. That those things now being a preview, and we as fans being privy to it, and the way how Warner Bros. Conducts itself, we're not tolerating that. And that's why there are several different reasons why the Snyderverse should happen. And again, one of the greatest supporters of the Snyderverse is James Gunn. And James Gunn believes that the Snyderverse should happen. Now, again, let me re-emphasize a point. This video is a little long, but that's okay. Bear with me. My point is both the Hamadaverse and the Snyderverse can exist because of the multiverse. And again, the only reason why the Snyderverse is not existing has nothing to do with financials, has nothing to do with production budgets, actors, and all of that. No, because Harley Quinn costs a pretty penny. That's a Academy Award winning actress that's on that thing. Okay, two. They have two in Suicide Squad. So that's not the case. The case is that in these properties, the will to bring back the Snyderverse is not there by certain key individuals. And I will repeat myself one more time. Toby Emmerich is the major impediment right now to the Snyderverse. Not even Walter Hamada. Walter Hamada probably would go along and say, okay, yeah, okay. If he has a boss or somebody above him who says, allow these projects to go through. And Sarnoff, who has nothing to do with Justice League 2017. She has nothing to do with that incident. She probably would even reverse her decision and say, okay, we can include both. I believe that Toby Emmerich, who is connected to that incident, the last guy to flush out of Warner Brothers, is the reason why we're in this situation today. And he's trying to do as much damage as possible. He is trying to hurt Zack Snyder's career as much as he can. What he's trying to do now, as I see in the trades, is they're trying to twist it and say, oh, Zack Snyder, he's just a good zombie movie guy. He should stick to zombie movies. They're trying now, because they can't get him any other way, they're going to try and do it genre specifically. But we know Zack Snyder's a great director. How do we know this? Watchmen. 300. Wasn't just zombie movies. And I'm talking about things that go struck out of the park, whether it's director's cut or not. Zack Snyder's Justice League, Batman v Superman, Man of Steel. He's a great director. He's proven it. Okay? And I'm talking, of course, the director's cuts where they are available. So there's no if, buts, or maybe that this guy will shine wherever he goes. But, like I said before, I like this article. This article actually tells the truth. And listen how this article goes on. Whoever wrote this article, I forgot what her name is, I really appreciate her article. Listen what she has to say. While Zack Snyder's plans for the DCU were never fully realized, that doesn't mean Gunn shouldn't have to forsake his own. Absolutely. But what this entire exchange shows is that DC fans are frustrated with Warner Brothers and are struggling to support the studio's projects moving forward. And while that's understandable, it's important to note that creators and directors like Gunn and Matt Reeves have nothing to do with the studio's treatment of Snyder. Hopefully, the fan community recognizes that fact and won't associate their work solely with the studio, thus defeating their own cause. Perhaps that's the very warning Gunn wants to sound. Once again, I've been saying this all around. Toxic behavior, negative behavior does not result in results. So wishing a director to fail or wishing a creative not to succeed is not the way forward. If it's not meant to succeed, it won't succeed. I keep on emphasizing to each and every one of you, and I wish more of you would watch my videos, that the way forward is by holding on to your passion. And if something is good, you say so. So if the Suicide Squad is good, you say so. If it's a good movie, you say so. We as fans are fans. We enjoy stuff. That's what we're here for. Fans are not here to condemn and destroy stuff. You're called a fanatic because you enjoy stuff. And today it's becoming more political, unfortunately. People have agendas, but think about this. I want you guys to think about this. A Warner Brothers Pictures, where you have a director, something like Jason Keeler, or somebody like a Jim Lee, who wants everything to prosper. The CW, DC Online, Hamadaverse, Snyderverse. He wants all DC properties, the comic books, wants all DC properties to succeed. You get somebody like that. Just that one piece changed with a directive down. Okay, we're pushing DC to the max. Somebody who has passion for it. Real passion. We find somebody like that who's allowing to live and let live. And all of a sudden, everything's well. And let me just say, I am going to support James Gunn's Suicide Squad when it comes out. As a Zack Snyder fan, and not as a big fan of pathos and comedy that they do in the Marvel way. And this is going to be a rated R movie, so it's going to be all out there. And but I don't really care about blood, guts, and gore too much. Why? Because James Gunn's been on the money almost every single time. And he is the unifying force here. He is the voice of reason. The other voices of reason are, and a big stalwart for it, Jason Momoa, Gal Gadot. Ezra Miller doesn't speak that much. And also, how can I forget Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? They're still there. And each one of them have a certain degree of clout. Each one of them are working on different projects. And that's why Gal could speak out when Ray couldn't speak out, like he doesn't have the clout to really do it. When Gal spoke out, everybody listens. And the truth be told is that the Snyderverse has to go on, not because of Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot and that have been there before, and Ezra Miller, and it's because it has been performing very, very well once people who are detractors are removed from the equation. I mean, the Snyder Cut numbers in China are ridiculous now. We're heading towards 400 million plays on Migu. We're heading towards 30 million plays on Tencent. We're heading towards 20 million plays on Bilibili. In the UQ, it's still the highest, I don't know what to call it, because I don't know if it's ratings or what. I see VIP underneath it, so I don't know, but it's high. And there are other streaming services. It's talked about a lot on, well, it has been talked about a lot on Weibo. It's still there. And they even have groups on Weibo dedicated to it. And then you also have WeChat, and it's doing well there. So all I'm saying is, this is a long ass video. So if you guys got this far, well, great. All I'm saying is that DC films and DC properties are IPs that can shine like Marvel. But the right leadership is not there for it at present. But all things work together for a good. Maybe it was meant to go this way. Maybe it was meant that the Hamadaverse would come so you could have lighter toned films. Probably in a slightly different universe, sometimes with the same actors, but you have lighter toned films intermixed with much more serious films. And maybe, though messy, this is a growth process that can lead to something better for Warner Brothers Pictures and for AT&T and for HBO Max. So it's messy right now. We'll see how it all irons out in the end. Hopefully Toby Emmerich will be showed the door so that we can get someone who can actually bring together people instead of be on a vendetta. This article is beautiful. Listen what it continues to say. Hopefully the fan community recognizes the fact and won't associate their work solely with the studio and thus defeating their own cause. Perhaps that's the very warning Gunn wants to send. In the meantime, it's safe to say that Restore the Snyderverse movement will continue as Snyder's latest project continues to gain traction. But whether Warner Brothers will be open to a second Snyder comeback remains to be seen. But in this pop culture moment of reboots and multiverses, hope remains that old visions and new visions could possibly coexist together under the same studio umbrella. I gotta say, bravo, Savannah Sanders. Well done. This is a well done article. You guys have a good one.